Well, hey there, DevCentral community. My name is Boo, one of the community evangelists on the DevCentral team, and thanks for tuning in to DevCentral Connects for today. It is August 30th, so summer is winding down for a lot of folks. I know personally I'm on my last little bit of PTO for the summer, heading out for an extra long weekend, I guess, and hopefully enjoying some time on my mountain bike along with a couple folks. So that should be fun. But we got a really fun show to talk about today because it's about DNS. We'll be getting to that a little bit later, but there's actually a couple things. I didn't pull them up, but there's been a couple DNS outages lately. I know folks like to blame DNS on stuff. Sometimes it actually is DNS that's the root of some of these problems that are happening out there. But we have a solution for that. So we're going to get to that a little bit later on and talk about how you can have some redundancy in your DNS, or perhaps just kind of move your DNS to another solution. So that'll be great to chat about. A couple things, though, before we get to that. First of all, if you're watching from something like YouTube right now, make sure you're subscribed. The subscribe button should be just kind of down below here. If it's red right now, make sure you click that so that it is gray. Also, give this a like, helps us out with the algorithm. And also, if you have your chat open, drop us a line as to where you're watching us from today. We'd love to hear from you. I know we have folks all around the world that are joining us, and we'll talk about this in a little bit perhaps, and I don't want to let the cat out of the bag, but there might be some multi-language stuff from some folks coming out on DevCentral as well, because we realize that there's folks from around the world that are speaking different languages, and English isn't necessarily your first language. So love that we're able to start catering to that. A couple of other things that I wanted to bring up here. First of all, we've got the DevCentral community platform, which is at community.f5.com. And if you head over to this platform, free to sign up. Just takes a second to log in. If you already have some accounts with F5 for various reasons, you might actually just already be able to just hop in by typing in your email address. But over here, we have something called groups. And if you go under the groups, we have this community group called DevCentral Connects. And that's where the community hosts or the community evangelists are hanging out. And then every week, we actually post the information from our shows onto there. So you'll see as we discuss some news articles a little bit later, they'll actually be listed under here. And then we can further the discussion over on this thread. So just wanted to highlight that. You can watch the show from this thread if you wanted to as well. But just wanted to draw attention to that. You do have to sign up for the group. Not that it costs anything. You just have to click to join the group, and you'll be accepted right away into that. A couple other things as well. If you were to go on to the DevCentral community platform, you'll actually see a thread where we were recently at Black Hat. And so myself, Peter Silva, and Aubrey King were actually at Black Hat in person, and we're creating a whole bunch of content out there, kind of picking up on the themes of the week at Black Hat. And we're able to capture that through video. We got a 360 video. We got a bunch of discussions with folks. And, for folks that can't necessarily make it out to all of the conferences, we're hopefully providing some of that experience for you all. So go check that out. Again, it's on either community.f5.com within a summary thread, or if you head over to the YouTube channel, there's a playlist with all the Black Hat content that we did. One other thing I'm going to mention as well, there is a book that was recently written by F5's Office of the CTO. It's called Enterprise Architecture for Digital Business. It was spearheaded by our CTO, Gang Lin. Lori McVitie is a contributor to that. She's been on the show a number of times. Joel Moses, he's a former guest on the show, but also a former DevCentral member. I guess he's still a member technically, but he was actually a former DevCentral MVP as well. So I don't know, rags to riches. Like now he's a CTO within F5. So it's really cool to see where he's come up. So I'm going to play a little video from that. It's got a link in there as to where to go download that book, or where to locate that book. And then after playing that, I will be joined by Aubrey King in just a moment. Digital transformation has accelerated nearly tenfold in recent years as both a business and technology journey. Yet most white papers and how-to guides still focus solely on the business side rather than including methods for optimizing the technology behind it. So Gang Lin, Lori McVitie, and a few others from F5's Office of the CTO wrote a book to show CIOs, IT directors, and architects how to balance both the business and the technology concerns successfully. I'll be interviewing the authors of this book to provide an opportunity for readers to discover more about the topics covered in each chapter. In this first interview, I'll be chatting with Gang Lin, F5's Chief Technology Officer. He'll be providing an overview of the book and the why behind his idea for it in the first place. Enjoy. Alrighty, welcome back, folks. We've got Aubrey with us today. Aubrey, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good. You know, just that music, it gets me dancing in the morning, man. Well, morning on the West Coast, right?
Oh. Yeah, I'm not in the dancing mood just yet. It's 8:30 over here, and I definitely have not gotten through my first coffee of the day. But
it's 11:30 here, and my coffee's also just getting started.
Yeah. Hey, we got a comment here. Daniel Wolf, great MVP and friend of the show. Now, this flag is not where I would think it's from, Daniel, for you. So let us know what flag that is. Is that Greece? Or I'm not sure. Let us know, Daniel, or if another viewer is watching and sees that flag on there, let us know where that's from. So we've got, I hinted it already, Aubrey, but maybe you would want to expand on a couple of languages that might be that might appear on some of the content coming out here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for unleashing my deadly cat. That is something that I've been working on for a little bit, actually. I've been trying to line up a couple of a couple more stories that would be able to be told by people in Spanish, because it is true we definitely need a little bit more Spanish content out there. But another thing that's interesting that I noticed while I was doing an interview today from Singapore with one of our employees who is from India, and when talking about doing this video and doing closed captioning in Hindi. I went to look at our YouTube stats, and it turns out really the second most, the second most popular language for our viewers, according to YouTube, is Hindi. So I've got a good agreement to get some content in Hindi. I'm also working on some in Russian. And if you MVPs out there or DevCentral folks want to DM me, you have interesting ideas about content, please definitely let me know. I'm interested in trying to get that stuff to the forefront. We definitely need your help on that from the community.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, these days we have things like closed captioning, but it's so much nicer when you can hear things in your native tongue. So we'd love to be able to cater to that. I mean, speaking of closed captioning, if folks kind of look through the YouTube, oh, Daniel is in Greece. Awesome. Let us know. Are you on the main island or one of the other islands? Let us know. Oh, hold on. This is the this is the comment I'm referring to. Sorry, folks. But Daniel is in Greece right now. I honeymooned in Greece on Santorini, actually. Beautiful place.
Ooh, I bet that was nice.
It was wonderful watching people talk about the sunsets. Watching the sunsets from there is just incredible.
Well, I don't have any content in Greek lined up, so
if we can find someone from there. If folks sift through the YouTube channel, DevCentral's youtube.com/DevCentral, look through the playlist. There's actually a couple playlists that will say Korean closed captioning and Japanese closed captioning. And so with some help from our team over in those countries, they actually help transcribe some of the videos over as well. Sagar, thanks for tuning in from India. Right on. You'll get some native tongue content pretty soon here.
Absolutely.
All right. So moving on, we've got a couple bits of news before we talk about DNS. So I'm going to pull that up here. And this one here, I mean, YouTube. We're on YouTube right now. So it's good that we talked about this. But this is actually a topic that we're going to feature upcoming here, and it's actually part of the book from Office of the CTO as well. Not specifically this YouTube piece of it, but the idea of XPUs. So processing units that are specific to certain functions. And we've got one more. I'm just going to interrupt our programming here. We've got one more hello from France as well. So thank you, Fred Lebrano, for tuning in from there. So on YouTube, we've got or they've actually gone ahead and they've created their own video processing unit called the Argos, and this article itself kind of speaks to the competitive advantage that big companies are extending when it comes to these XPUs. And what they mean by that is that for the most part, general population has access to x86 architecture. Throw a bunch of that in your data centers, and yeah, you can have software that does as much optimization as possible for the x86s, but they're still general purpose. Someone like YouTube, who has the money, can build their own processing units. They can reduce their costs. They can get to market faster. They can offer better features. Like through this, they can. When somebody uploads a video, I think it quoted that YouTube actually converts it into 15 different versions depending on resolution and codecs and whatnot. And so it can do that faster than everyone else. So it's like they can publish the videos faster just because of these dedicated processing units. So I think it's a pretty neat idea that, we were at a point maybe 10 years ago where people were writing their own custom code to get around proprietary code to extend their advantages and put in features that they wouldn't necessarily get out of commercial software. And now it's kind of flipped around. Now they're doing this with hardware when they have enough money and the developers to be able to create their own hardware and throw their own software on top. Any thoughts on that, Aubrey?
I think it's amazing to see, very custom, silica out there. That's the intriguing thing for me. And I kind of wonder if, I guess if that's something that's, that's probably not being made by Intel. I kind of wonder where that actually is coming from, that forge that's making those chips.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, um, they did throw 40 developers at it, they said. Interesting to see it's built by, no, not Avatron.
No, yeah, it's.
Yeah.
Hmm. I'll have to look that up. That's something that's curious to me. Having worked a bit with QAT, for instance, that for me was kind of mind blowing. Watching a very custom built chip that is used for a very specific application. If you don't know what QAT is, Intel's Quick Assist technology that was really designed explicitly for SSL decryption. So that's it is neat to see a lot of this very custom stuff that's coming out for specific applications. Now, my other thought also, Boo, is I don't know if will this help me actually process videos in Premiere better?
Can we get one of those chips for our laptops,
Yeah, that'd be
perhaps? That
great.
would be super handy. Yeah. That might be the next frontier, though, is offloading of you know what? There's actually an organization in Vancouver. Well, CDW Canada has been doing that for a while now, and so it was a number of years back. They actually created something called Studio Cloud, and this is almost a plug for them. There's no F5 stuff in there, but what Studio Cloud is it is farmed out render farms, and so that's a thing because when it comes time to in Vancouver, we have a lot of post-production studios here. We have a lot of Hollywood North type stuff here because of tax stuff, tax breaks that we give them. So we've built up this economy here around the movie industry. We have a lot of post-production that happens here. And so when things like heavy special effects happens and they do a lot of that video work, it ramps up and down. So it doesn't make sense for one of these production companies to go buy 300 servers and just keep them around for like that busy season. And so they have a couple different business models. I was chatting with the guy who's the manager of the entire thing at this point, and they have a couple different business models, but they actually host hundreds of servers, and they can throw everything out to there, so they don't have to necessarily, grab all that hardware all at once. So
It's
maybe that's
funny.
the next frontier.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because you look at some of the past too. A very very long time ago, I read an article on I think it was either DreamWorks or Industrial Light and Magic, one of the two,
Mm.
that had made the switch very very early on to Linux and at the desktop level. So people would come in and get a Linux desktop and were kind of confused by that at first. But the reason why they went with Linux at the desktop is because they expected every employee, when they logged out at the end of the day, they didn't even have the option to turn it off. But when every employee logged out at the end of the day, the computer sensed that the user was gone and would reboot itself into an open Mosix node, which would join the rest of this cluster, and all of the desktops in their buildings would be used as a render farm.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, this is probably 15, 20 years ago. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
kind of a
very
neat
clever.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So all of this, I mean, still on this similar point here, all of this is business advantage. And that book from Office of the CTO talking about digital transformation for the business now, this is all about business velocity. I just had this chat yesterday with Mark Menger, actually. We're just chatting about some stuff that I'm producing with him. And the business advantage, or the businesses now realize that they can use technology to their advantage. The big companies already realize this, but this is permeating down. So something like a post-production studio knows that, hey, if we didn't have to spend all this money and we can use that money on perhaps more 3D artists, and then that cloud we can just rent out when we need to. Yes, we've gotten more artistry done, and we've reduced the overhead cost, the capital cost of that render hardware, and then we can go out and bid for more contracts, knowing that we can deliver on them faster and produce
Yep.
more stuff. So it's
Quality
super
up.
neat to see. Yeah, it's just super neat to see how technology applies to business and furthers things along and provides competitive advantages. So really cool for that. One more shout out here, Ravi Kumar. Thanks for joining us again from India. Awesome.
Again, okay. Makes me feel good about this morning.
Let's move on to one of the ones that you brought up, Aubrey. This one
Oh
here,
yeah.
I think.
Yeah, so this is new, and really, I mean, if you're not familiar with Nginx yet and you're part of the community, definitely go check it out. Now, this is something that for us is really more of an announcement article. It's quite simply. Oops, sorry, let me move that. Quite simply, we're looking at a brand new management suite for Nginx. And this is, if I'm not mistaken, Nginx in total. For those of you who are familiar with Nginx, since we acquired it, one of the things that has been confusing for some of our customers has been the management suite of applications. We have had, we have had a manager in the past, which was just not, the Nginx controller. It was not everything that our customers had wanted. It did definitely expose APIs. It did make central management of APIs a little bit easier. But the main complaint that we had out of this was, well, I don't have a real solution for my open source Nginx as well. So kind of at the same time, we had this other thing called NIM, Nginx Instance Manager, which was designed to take care of more of the needs on the open source side of the house, with not as many of the frills and features that you would find in controller. That's gone now. We're doing Management Suite 1 is the hope here, and the idea is that we're going to have a unified front going forward in terms of management for whatever you have, OSS or N+. So I would definitely recommend, if you're not using it, to definitely check this one out.
Yeah, absolutely. Great one to bring up there. We should say too, I mean, it's version 1 of this product. We've as in F5 and Nginx, have done many iterations now of management products. And so this is just the next evolution, version 1
Yep.
of the next evolution. Okay, so moving on, we've already kind of gotten to the point here where we should bring up our feature clip around distributed cloud, primary and secondary DNS. Again, we'll post all of the news articles that we wanted to talk about today over into the group in the community platform on the show thread, so we can continue that conversation over there. There's one on LastPass I think everyone should take a look at there. And they were recently breached, but I think how they handled the breach is a great example. And we try to do that at F5 as well. You've worked on the QSNs, Aubrey, and the way companies handle breaches now and vulnerabilities, it just happens now, and it's more about how it's handled as opposed to dwelling on the fact that it happened. And so LastPass is a great example of that, of doing the right thing. Okay, where are we here? Yeah. Okay, I'm just going to roll a little bit of a transition here, and we will see you all in just a second.
If you're not paying attention to API security, you've effectively opened all the doors, all the windows, and put a sign that says, "Take everything I own." That's the biggest takeaway this week. API security sounds like it's something that belongs to the development team, but I guarantee within the systems that you manage today that are core to what you manage as security, you probably have 80 APIs that are open, waiting, and willing to give away the crown jewels. Cool. So that's what I would do. I would start looking at that. I would start securing that. That's number one on my list of to-dos.
Hey everyone, this is Boo here, Community Evangelist with the DevCentral team, and today I am joined by Nico Cartron. He is a product manager with our F5 distributed cloud team, and recently he's been working on one of our DNS products within that platform. So Nico, welcome. I am looking forward to hearing about what you've been doing with DNS today. Can you give us a little bit of background on your role at F5 and what you've been up to?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, thanks, Boo. Thanks for having me. So I'm at F5 since the Volterra acquisition. So I was initially with Volterra back in October 2019. I joined back then. And as an SC, as a solution engineer. And then once the acquisition, happened, I moved to a product management position, which is one of the good things with a bigger company. You have like a bit more options. I've always been like a DNS guy. I've been doing DNS for 15 years before Volterra. Wow. So I know the field a bit. My ex-boss Nginx asked me whether I would be interested in joining the PM, the product management organization, taking care initially of DNS. And of course, I said yes. And after a few months, and we will present a bit more today about this, but after a few months, we finally managed to release this first version of DNS in distributed cloud, which is super exciting.
Okay, awesome. So this is, I'd say, one of the more important pieces when it comes to a platform like we have with distributed cloud. And I guess from an F5 perspective, we have a long history with DNS and serving DNS through various products. And previously, there's another iteration of a DNS service that we offered. And so now what you've built is something that is going to take over for that and expand upon that on the platform?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's two things here. So as I guess most of the community knows, before F5 acquired Volterra, we had, and we still have, because the platform is not shut down yet, we had the so-called cloud services SaaS platform, which was F5 initiative to bring SaaS services to its customers. And of course, it included both DNS and DNS LB, GSLB, double site load balancing. And of course, we have existing customers on those platforms. So we are migrating those features to distributed cloud, and of course, also the existing customers to distributed cloud. And so that's really, the idea is to have those features, which, as we said, are important to any customer. DNS is really a cornerstone of any application. We need DNS for almost anything. But also, exposing our customers to a lot more services than just DNS. You will see in the demo, of course, the demo will be focused on DNS, but you will see like different tiles, different features, which you can also use even with a free.
Yeah, anytime there's a problem, everybody blames DNS, and so it's important to have a strong platform.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got this T-shirt today, right, for this recording, right? So It's always DNS, and if it's not DNS, it's BGP. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, it often is BGP these days, it seems like. That's cool. So you do have a demo to show us what you've got cooking?
Yeah, absolutely. Just before I switch into the demo, I just wanted to briefly explain how customers typically use DNS with at least with F5 in terms of a SaaS offering. We have different options, and again, it's up to the customer, to do whatever they want, because for us, it doesn't really change the way we provide DNS. But the first option is customers already trust F5, and they will just migrate their DNS, their authoritative DNS, function to us, meaning they benefit from our Anycast network, from our DDoS protection, and they just, ask us to, provide DNS for them. That's option number one. Option number two is customers, they like F5, but they, for different reasons, they still want to have something on-prem. Should it be like, a client server, maybe some Infoblox appliances or whatever DDI solutions they're using today. But they would like, to again benefit from our Anycast network, because it's distributed across the globe. We have DDoS protection. So in terms of, user experience and latency, we can bring that to those customers. And in which case we will be secondary of the customer on-prem servers. That's option number two. And option number three is what I call the dual provider approach, where customers, want to use different SaaS providers. That could be us and, let's say, Cloudflare or Akamai or Imperva. And again, those are just examples. And the idea behind is to, to say, I don't want to put all of my eggs in the same basket, right? So provider A could have an outage, and provider B, won't have this outage, or maybe there's a bug in the DNS implementation that provider B is using, and vice versa, provider A won't have this bug. So it's really about mitigating the risk, because as you rightly said, if DNS doesn't work, then nothing is working. So that's a different approaches that we see customers having. But again, in our case, that doesn't change anything because we keep providing DNS no matter which one. So with that said, let's jump into the demo. So this is the distributed cloud console, and
Alrighty. So to watch the remainder of that video, I left it at a cliffhanger. Sorry, everyone. But to watch the rest of that video, he goes straight into a demo. And you know what? The demo is just elegant, I should say, because it's up and running super quick. It is on the YouTube channel already. It was published early this morning at youtube.com/DevCentral. You can check out the full demo from there. But you know what's cool is it's on the free tier of Distributed Cloud. So you could sign up and you could start playing with the service right away.
I know what I'm doing this afternoon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Boy, it's funny. I don't know if you saw me backstage, but when he said demo, my head got super close to the screen. Are you going to show me a demo of this? I've been wanting to see that for months. So.
Oh yeah, it is there. Everybody can check out the full video for that. A couple points that I will bring up here. I'm actually just chatting with Nico right now on Slack. The picture behind him is actually an ice hockey or a photo from the ice hockey team that he supports. And then I also found his UFO picture on there as well. I think it said like, I want to believe or something like that with the UFO on it. So
do you have a favorite hockey team, Boo?
I don't. I'll jump on a bandwagon for a Canadian team if they're in the playoffs, but not really. How about you?
Same. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I just don't follow enough. We will bring up this one comment here from Ravi Kumar. Why does F5 not combine all solutions like APM, AFM, GCM in one box to get rid of the management issue and all in one solution? We probably have different takes on this. Aubrey, I'll let you go first, perhaps.
Sure. Yeah. So my take on this is, first of all, it is very difficult to do all of that. Number one, you're looking at very different code streams. You're looking at very different kernels and microkernels, and all the data that comes in from all this stuff is tough. But obviously, I'm not going to talk about any sort of forward thinking stuff here. But I'll tell you, when I went to the distributed cloud team, one of the things that I pitched on that platform to a lot of the developers and anyone who would listen on distributed cloud was, hey, if we can gain this management data by just connecting with our own machines, then that might be a convenient place to house all of that data and obfuscate the backends. So that is something that I can tell you was at least suggested and has been discussed by the distributed cloud team. I don't think that that's roadmapped at this point, but I do know that it is something that has been talked about considerably. I've been part of those conversations.
Yeah. I mean, you have a good point. Like it's actually a huge undertaking. I know and I'm not trying to make excuses, but when we hear people say, why don't you just do this? Yeah, I mean, I'd love for that to happen. And this is, like you said, like there's multiple ways that these things are actually managed. The code streams, they're not always completely aligned. We've seen this before, and you release a new version of TMOS, so you need a new version of the management software as well, and then you're introducing more upgrade steps that have to happen, and depending on how many devices are managed by that management suite, there's a lot of things that are incurred there. So there's a bit to it.
I would love to share a quick piece of data here too. I sort of liken that idea to, there was this firewall, a very popular firewall not too long ago, and the company that made this firewall purchased an IPS. And when they combined the two, they quite literally put the board from the IPS into the firewall and connected them via an Ethernet cable. I'm not even kidding you. And this is something that was sold extensively. To me, that was the worst. And again, I'm not going to say any manufacturing names here, but to me, that was the worst firewall I ever worked with, because it was just slapped together. If they had just waited a few months, so we are working on this kind of thing. It's a very common request. We just don't want to give you, a pile of bolts.
And you know what? And if I can offer any consolation here, we'll fall on our sword a little bit here. And this is something that we wish we could address immediately. But at the same time, we have partners like AppViewX that we've spoken to recently at Black Hat, and they offer solutions that help you manage. We have a lot of management, or we can do a lot of management through APIs and through automation as well. And that might be the right approach. So let's take, it's something probably to discuss with an F5 solutions engineer as to the approach that you're taking. And maybe there is a solution that's just kind of right, underneath the crust of that question, if we dig a little bit further.
That last comment's good, here.
Hope we have this recorded, video available on demand. So the live stream definitely available on demand. As soon as this is done, it's up and available. If you're talking about the DNS one, that one is on the channel. It was made public this morning as well. So that's all available and ready to go.
If you wanted proof, though, that Aubrey and Boo said we're delivering a conjoined management solution, no, it's not recorded.
We're cutting that part out. No promises. No promises here.
No promises.
But you know what? We'd make a lot of money if we did that.
Probably.
But, so does AppViewX and companies who take, a plug for AppViewX. Like, they take this holistic approach to it, right? Like, it's not just, hey, stand up the VIPs. It's like, hey, what does this VIP look like in the grand scheme of the architecture? What is it actually flowing through? Can we grab telemetry along the way? Can we take care of the certificate lifecycle management as well? Like, it's pretty slick when you look at it. So it's great that we're partnered up with them. Okay, having said that, I think we're going to sign off for today. We went a little bit over time, but I think it was well worth it. So I'm glad everybody stuck around. Again, a couple things. If you are not subscribed to the channel already, you'll see it'll be over here, over more below Aubrey. There's a subscribe button. So make sure you hit subscribe on that. Hit like for the algorithm as well. Let's see here. So Ravi Kumar, let's continue this conversation. Actually, I'll give a plug for community.f5.com. Myself and Aubrey will hang out inside of the DevCentral Connects group right after the show, and we can take a look at the question from there and just have a little bit more discussion around there as well. Another one here? Any plan for a session on declarative onboarding? Okay.
Yeah, I think we might have some stuff coming up.
And you know what, as well, I was just thinking about this. We do have, I put up a vote for the next lab that we'll run as DevCentral Connects. And the most voted for lab so far is one on automation. So go check us out on the DevCentral Connect group on the platform, and let's have a chat about that. And get everybody involved in that lab. It should be fun. All right. I think that's about it. Everybody, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you check out that Octo or the F5 Office of the CTO book as well. We'll also post a link to the full-length discussion that I had with Gang. Gang is a tremendously experienced guy, and he's gone through this digital transformation multiple times with a big bank and with Google as well. So, for somebody like that who's seen it all and putting that knowledge back out there is wonderful to see. Otherwise, we'll sign off for here. Thanks for joining me, Aubrey.
Thanks for having me, man. Always good to start the Tuesday with you.
For sure. Bye for now, folks. Well, thanks for checking out that video. If you have any questions, leave a comment down below. While you're down there, hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. You might want to check out one of these videos over here. And if you haven't already, go check out community.f5.com. This is where all the DevCentral Connects hosts hang out, as well as the rest of the community. It's free to sign up, and we'll see you there.